Wonder if I could begin just by asking you to do a little thought exercise with me. A very close friend of yours has been falsely accused of a crime. You're convinced at peace that they didn't do it, and you are called to be a character witness for them. And if it's not a make or break witness, it's pretty close. It's important. And so the question becomes, what makes you a good witness? What actually makes you effective? Maybe another way to think of the thought experiment is that you're in the jury box and someone is testifying on behalf of this person. What makes them effective? I'm not sure if you realize, but law firms spend a lot of money. Well, actually, they pass it on to the client. But in preparing people to testify, it's not so much manipulation, but there's a recognition that in the moment you might not be up to it, or you might not be prepared, and so there's practice. So a few things. First of all, I read some of these websites this past week. The most important thing, they would say, is your attitude. Do you come across as arrogant, knowing it all, dismissive? Or is your testimony thoughtful, respectful, and measured? Second thing, listen carefully to the question. This is why your preparation has to be not, just memorizing 3 paragraphs. There may be things that need to be said, but what's the question that's being asked? Stay in tune with that, respond to that. That's going to go over better. And then thirdly, say it like you know it. Confident and straightforward. One of these websites said, imagine you're talking to your aunt or your grandma. How would you describe this? Now, one way is that all these add up to credibility. That's ultimately the only thing that matters. Is this witness credible? Now, I want to begin here just from our everyday experience. Maybe we've never had this happen, but it's easy to imagine. Because it's very clear that the Lord's final words to His believers, anyone who would follow Him, is, you will be my witnesses. It's taken for granted. There's a sense that Christ is counting on each of us and as a mystical body to be His witnesses. And then we could say, is that how I understand my life? This one life I have to live. And then what makes for credibility? The only way faith is genuinely passed on, the only way the church grows, salvation, the gift of it, is through the law of attraction. There's no shortcuts. It's accompanying someone else, and they see in our lives, in your life, some light of Jesus that touches them. And they want that light to see. They want to warm themselves by that same light in their own lives. The other thing is, we have to be sensitive to the people whom the Lord has sent us to. Just like a good witness, what is the question of their heart? What is the question of their heart? How do I get to witness to that with great love? Well, on this Ascension Sunday, St. Paul gives us his own kind of what he wishes for in a good witness to Jesus. The first thing he says, may the eyes of your heart be enlightened. Did you know your heart has eyes? I've noticed something through the years, that when I spend quality time with really good friends of mine who are married, that I always come away from those encounters with a deeper esteem and love for their wives. Of course, they know them from the inside. They've received forgiveness. They've received compassion. They've received encouragement. And it's like, well, I loved her before. I know her. But now I get a little heart knowledge, you know? And so one thing we could say is, do I have heart knowledge of Jesus? Yes, it does help. It really does to know the beauty of our faith. We have so many in this parish who've gone through the Catechetical Institute in the last 4 or 5 years, making this 2-year commitment, and they're on fire. It does help. Like, the person you love, you want to know more. And the more you know, the more you love them. So do I have heart knowledge of Jesus? If I'm a witness, and someone asks me a question, do I panic because I wasn't ready, or don't feel like I have the right answer, or don't feel like I'm morally perfect? Remember, we're talking about credibility, not your own perception of your perfection. Or do I just speak from the difference He's made in my life? They asked a question, after all. May the eyes of your heart be enlightened. And then He says, may you live from the hope that belongs to His call. Do you ever live your life, well, 2 things. First, compartmentalized. Like in this environment with these people, I can be my authentic self, and that includes the faith. That includes my relationship with Jesus. That's the center. But in this group, I somehow have to shed that part of myself. I can't live that because either I perceive it's not accepted, or I don't know what's going to come back. And then the other thing is, do you ever just try to think like, I have to live from my own strength? And that's not what St. Paul says. You know, I invited this wonderful woman of faith. To me, she's been a great witness for these last 20 plus years. Her name's Cheryl Moran. And I said, Cheryl, will you come and lead our 3 mornings of recollection for our entire 100 plus employees ministry team here? Will you lead those mornings? And she prayed about it, and she, of course, I don't know what you want me to say. I just want you to be you. I want you to share the steps you've taken. And then I asked her, I said, how do you want me to introduce you? You know what she said? I'm so struck. She said, I guess you could just say, I'm a nobody who wants to tell everybody about a somebody. Just a nobody who wants to tell everybody about a somebody. In my experience of her 3 mornings, she was credible. She's just attractive. She lives the faith in a way that's attractive. Okay, third and finally, St. Paul says, may you know the surpassing greatness of His power for us who believe. I think the word power was mentioned 3 times. The power of the Spirit. So we don't just live from my own strength or my own perception of how prepared I am or worthy I am. I live from the Holy Spirit taking me out of myself, like allowing me to go further than I ever imagined. Otherwise, we just live behind these artificial boundaries that are safe and stifling. Some of you know, but some reason, Acts of the Apostles, this final reason, I was brought back to a Dr. Seuss book, All the Places You'll Go. Oh, all the places you'll go. So I was listening to it twice on my drive here to the parish this last week. And I think the genius of the book is it's one man sort of giving some advice to this young person, but it speaks of the adventure, the initiative, the resilience that our lives are made for. Especially you and I as believers, right? Like we're not just living from our spirit. And Dr. Seuss gets to this place where he says, you're gonna get to a place where He calls it the waiting place, waiting for life to happen. I'm bored. I'm just tucked. I'm in a tucked position in some way. Maybe I've been hurt. I don't know. And he says, you're going to be tempted to want to stay there. And he says, no. Move out of there. Keep going. So do you understand? I really believe this. That I hope you do. The deepest purpose of your life is to live as one sent. An adventure that has Jesus as its origin and the Holy Spirit as the guide, that you get to be a witness. It's the only way faith, the beauty that we know, is passed on. There's no shortcuts. There's no program. It's not coming through a school or whatever. It is coming through individuals who are alive. I'll close with this, but some years ago I was on a plane. I was in my uniform, and this young lady sat by me. She was evangelical, and she struck up the conversation. She took the initiative. And I remember this conversation to this day because I left the plane feeling this fire inside of me. So what that I'm the cleric professional? This woman knows and loves Jesus. She's immersed in the Word. She's unafraid. She's living not in the tuck position. And I went away from that plane just thinking, wow, Lord, give me some of that. I mean, I know you and I love you, but I want more. You will be my witnesses even to the ends of the earth, even here in Woodbury.